standing here, it was about 2 years ago. I was standing literally right here. And a lot of you were here that day. And since then, we've been trying to do something that's pretty rare amongst those that you get behind to become elected officials. During campaigns, you hear different issues come up. Say, if I was elected, I would do this, or if I was elected, I was going to do that. But then once they're elected, they forget all about it. And then 2 years later, they show up, or 4 years later, they show back up when it's election time again. And say, remember that issue I was talking about 2 years ago? Yeah, we should do that. You elect me and give me 2 more years, you give me 4 more years, and we're going to get it done. And then nothing happens. There's someone here, and I'm not going to call him out, but recently, the state Senate back in June passed legislation that I had introduced, and both of my assembly colleagues that were here co-sponsored it in the assembly, introducing legislation to phase out, to repeal the MTA Payroll Tax. And the Senate passed it. The Senate passed it with bipartisan support. And this one supporter who's here, he wanted to give me some good advice. He wanted to have a little bit of, just a one-on-one, a candid talk, talking politics for a second. Lee, there's option 1. It's called Damn the Torpedoes. Option 2 was it was like a military history lesson, but the point was that claim your victory. The Senate passed the repeal of the MTA payroll tax. It's never going to get through the state assembly. It'll never become law. Just claim your victory. It's the best thing that you could do for yourself politically. And I really appreciate the advice. And it was a great analysis, both options. But you know what? For us, there was only one option. Damn the torpedoes. I did not care that they said it would not get done. I heard about Shirley Silver in the state assembly representing his New York City interests. He'll never let a vote. Well, we made a pledge. I made a pledge, a promise to all of you when you said you were going to support me in running for office, that I was going to do everything in my power, every day that I was on the job, to repeal the MTA payroll tax. These were pledges, promises that we made to our constituents when we were asking for your vote. When you were knocking on those doors, you were supporting a purpose and a mission. You remember that fishing license fee that we were talking about during the campaign? We were saying that all we ever remember in life was being able to go out on the Great South Bay, being able to drop a line to bring your kids. You never had to get a license or pay a fee to go saltwater fishing. And then all of a sudden, tens of thousands of Long Islanders had to get a license and pay a fee to go saltwater fishing, something we've always enjoyed for free. At the beginning of March, we introduced a bill to repeal the saltwater fishing license fee. Why? Not only was it the right thing to do, but it was a pledge. It was a promise to all of you, to everyone that we were asking for support. I said that if I was elected, I would do everything in my power to try to repeal the saltwater fishing license fee. And by the end of March, it was gone. I leave tomorrow. I have Army duty for 9 days. I'm still in the reserves, and around our dog tags, we wear the 7 Army values. One of them is integrity. And there's not enough integrity up in Albany. There's not enough integrity down in Washington, D.C. We tried something different this year in Albany. The Republicans control the state Senate. The Democrats control the state assembly. The governor is a Democrat. We are of different political parties. But we have to work together to move this state forward. What we're seeing in Washington is partisan bickering that is literally destroying the country. And what we were able to do up in Albany, working with a Democratic-controlled assembly, working with the Democratic governor, we closed a $10 billion deficit. We cut spending for the first time in 15 years. We passed the budget on time. That was balanced. We have our nation's toughest property tax cap law now. And now we're starting to repeal the MTA Payroll Tax. That was a good 2011. Let me talk about the MTA Payroll Tax, and I'm looking forward to turning the mic over to my assembly colleagues that are here with me. The MTA Payroll Tax was created in 2009 to bail out an entity based in New York City that needed a bailout. At the time where Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac and AIG and Bear Stearns and states, where they all had their hands out to the federal government saying, give me money. I can't get the job done on my own. I don't know how to balance both sides of the ledger. I need your help. I need taxpayer dollars, more, more, more. And every single time anyone would ask, they would get whatever they were asking for. That's not how you run a government. And in 2009, the New York State version of that was when the MTA asked for a bailout. Sure, whatever you need. Here is $1.4 billion of money that's spent for employers, employing people in the height of a recession. Here's money from hardworking small business owners, from nonprofits, from schools, both public and private, and so many others. Here is their money, their hard-working money, out of the pockets of Long Islanders that may live on the east end of Long Island, out of the pockets of those that may live in Rockland. Here's money out of their pockets, because you can't get your fiscal house in order. Well, we all saw that that was wrong. And we made a pledge to each other that we were going to knock on tens of thousands of doors in the 3rd Senate District. We were going to talk to our friends and our neighbors. You did the same thing in Dean Murray's Assembly District, in Phil Boyle's Assembly District, that you were going to talk to your family and friends, and you were going to tell them about this MTA payroll tax. This tax that was on jobs at the height of a recession. That was your pledge. And tonight's not just about any one person who's here. It's not about the 3 of us, and it's not just about all of you. But I'll tell you what really is partially about all of you is that you all worked so hard. And you believed in me. You believed in us. You heard a pledge and a commitment coming from our mouths. And you say, you know what? Let's give them a chance. Let's give them a chance. Let's see if they can deliver. Let's see if something can be different if we change the people that we sent to Albany. And I just want to say thank you. I look out at this crowd and I see representatives from the CSA. I was standing on the steps with Steve Flanagan. It was about 2 years ago that we were right here. I was making my campaign announcement. And I made this pledge. It was right here on the staircase, and Steve was there. And I just want to say thank you. This is our victory rally. This is our night to celebrate a lot of very hard work. And I want to say thank you. At this time, it's my honor. It's my honor to introduce a couple of partners, because we needed to get Shirley Silver in the State Assembly to go along with this, and it was the effort. A lot of hardworking Assembly Republicans and Democrats. There were Democrats that co-sponsored our legislation to try to figure out how to get the State Assembly to allow a vote, and it happened. And it's a lot to do with the 2 men that are behind me. And at this time, I would like to first introduce the State Assemblyman who represents this area, Dean Murray. Hey, how about this guy, huh? How about this guy? Another hand for Zeldin.
I don't know if I can even be that fired up. Tore it up. I just think, as I was listening to Lee speak, I was thinking of a conversation while he was running. We were actually both running, but I was running for re-election at the time, and I had pulled into the parking lot of a restaurant, and we were on the phone together, and we're just talking, and we're going over, boy, Lee, when you win and we get to work together, what are we going after? You know, MTA payroll tax, of course, first. fishing license was next. I mean, we rattled down a few, and we did it. How about that, huh? I mean, it was fantastic. But the reason I say that, and you know, with a bit of surprise, is the fact is got exactly what Lee said. You know, too many times you hear people come up, they make the promises, they say we're going to do this, and then we'd say, you know, they say, you know, well, we made the effort, we're putting up the fight. You know, but the reason this got accomplished was because the fight never ended. Lee and Phil and all of our colleagues never stopped fighting, and that's why it became part of the negotiations when we went up there. It was because all of you, with the efforts that you put in, just keeping the pressure on, that's what it was about. I made that pledge when I ran in the special election in February of 2010. The very first bill that I introduced after being sworn into office 2 days later was a bill calling for the repeal of the MTA Payroll Tax. And so this is personally gratifying both for that reason and for the fact that I'm a small business owner myself. So I kind of like the idea that I won't be handing over my hard-earned money for a failed system like the MTA. The fact of the matter is, as Lee said, it's time for accountability. You know, it's funny, I proudly say, and I'm the one guy, and Phil will back me on this, on my desk in the assembly, in the chamber, on the floor, I'm the only one that has the Gadsden flag, that is proud to say I am a Tea Party member, because I have been, I will be, and what it's about, and I keep trying to explain to everyone, what the Tea Party stands for is 4 basic principles. And that is smaller, more efficient government, fiscal responsibility, personal responsibility, and accountability. Doesn't sound radical to me. That sounds pretty good, doesn't it? Welcome to the Tea Party. Anyway. But the reason I bring that up is because accountability was missing in the MTA. And by us cracking down, and Lee constantly on them, and Phil and myself calling for the audits, demanding accountability from them, it brought to light all of the abuses, the mismanagement, and then the fact that they turned to us to bail them out. Are you kidding me? No way. We couldn't stand for that. There is no way we would stand for that, and we would not stop fighting. So it brings me so much pleasure to say that we were able to make this repeal, almost complete repeal. We're still fighting for the rest, but to bring the relief to all the small business owners throughout Suffolk County. About 80% of the people that were paying the tax will not be paying it. That's a great first step. We're not done. There's more. We're going to keep going. But what a great first step. Are we fired up tonight?
Great.
I want to thank everybody for coming out and supporting this and showing just how important this issue was to Suffolk County. I think we sent a message to Brian Foley last election, but I think this is a great way to send a message and to continue sending that message that you cannot continue to turn to the taxpayers for bailouts. We want accountability and we want responsibility, and it starts right now. I'd like to introduce now a great colleague, a guy that's been fighting for Suffolk County residents for, I won't date you or anything, but for quite a long time, and that is Assemblyman Phil Boyle.
Thank you, Dean, and thank you, Senator Zeldin. Never have I seen one candidate come out of Suffolk County or anywhere in New York State so associated with one issue in his first campaign. Lee Zeldin started his race based on the MTA tax, and even more rarely do you see someone who actually gets it accomplished in his first term. I know a lot of people talk about Governor Cuomo. I give him a lot of kudos for his first year in office. Well, I can tell you that, in my opinion, Lee Zeldin is a New York State Senate Rookie of the Year. And I want to thank my colleague Dean. In the Assembly, he's a fighter for Long Island, for a lot of the conservative Tea Party issues. He's very vocal. We love to listen to him, except at 2 o'clock in the morning, maybe. But this vote, I just want to talk about, we went up there last week on Wednesday, and this is typical Albany. We were supposed to vote at noon on Wednesday. And special session, call it. So I, like an idiot, get up at 4 o'clock in the morning, take the train up, sitting at my desk at noon, and we voted 13 and a half hours later at 1:30 in the morning. I could have slept till noon and still made the vote in plenty of time. But it didn't make a difference, because whether it was noon or 1:30 in the morning, this was an extremely important vote for the Long Islanders and for those in the downstate region. It literally saved jobs. I know we talk about so many small business people, and thank you for your support and getting the word out, as was said. But it wasn't just about the taxes on the small business people. It was those small business people who had to make a decision. Can I keep my doors open? On the edge. And you know there's many small business people on Long Island who are on the edge. Some of them, this was the straw that broke the camel's back. And I thank Lee Zeldin, I thank Dean Murray, because you literally saved people's jobs in the years to come. That's what we need to do in the New York State Legislature. Thank you so much.
So there are two people that I'd like to bring up, because part of this repeal included schools, public and private. And Bob Vecchio, who is the president of the William Floyd School Board, Kathy Hyland, who is a member of the Bayport Blue Point School Board, but also is very active with BOCES, is also in charge of the Captree Association and all of their boat owners. I hear Phil saying I was the Rookie of the Year. I don't know about that, but as far as the fishing issues go, it was a windfall for them. I tell you, all those boats now finally don't have to they don't have to pay the MTA tax now that the licenses from earlier. But hey, that's a good thing. So Kathy's going to be speaking not only from the education side, but also the effect on the fishing industry, because we need to put a plug in for the fishing industry, because there's so much more we need to do for both recreational and commercial fishermen. So at this point, I'd like to bring up both Bob and Kathy.
Thanks, Senator. Assemblyman Murray, Assemblyman Boyle, thank you very much. President of William Floyd's School Board is not an easy task. We've cut over 200 jobs. We've reduced programs to our kids. We've lost vital programs, elementary music. And all the while, we were providing an interest-free loan to the MTA, because they would tax us in excess of $350,000 a year, and we're still waiting on money to be paid back. We couldn't afford to bail out the MTA by using us as an ATM. And that's what school districts said loud and proud when this tax first came down. So this is a big, huge plus for school districts on Long Island, in Orange County, in Westchester, and more importantly, something that hasn't been discussed too often, Eastern Suffolk BOCES was never being reimbursed for the taxes they were paying. So we were all paying that tax, because Eastern Suffolk BOCES would pass the tax along to the school districts, while we were receiving reimbursement. Maybe a year later, they weren't. So you, the taxpayer, were being double taxed, in essence, because when BOCES is charged it, they charge it to the school districts, we charge it to our residents. So this is a huge victory for schools, and without Lee's leadership, Dean's leadership, and Phil's leadership, I don't know what going into this budget season would be like if I have to give the MTA another interest-free loan. So I'm glad we don't have to do that. Thank you very much.
I won't have to speak after him, so I will be brief, because we know it's all about Bob. On behalf of the fishing community, the senator said something about believing him early on, and the bottom line is he believed in the fishing community. He embraced us. He saw what we were going through, as did Assemblyman Murray and Boyle. They see the regulations we're up against. I'm president of the Captree Fishing Fleet, which represents 24 boats. And, it has been a very difficult couple of years with the fees imposed on us and the MTA tax. So the relief that he has brought to 24 small businesses is more than I can say and express, because that's that many more people that will be able to fish. You can fish off the docks, you can fish wherever you want, but you have that right, and we've all had that right as Long Islanders, so thank you very much.
So we close with this. It's great. We see a lot. Hey, we got little girls coming in too. Get the kids involved. Sign them up. So what does this mean? Basically, the legislation that we passed, it's for payrolls 1.25 million and less. Small businesses, this includes nonprofits.
Thank you.
For employers with payrolls $1.25 million or less, it's fully repealed. It's reduced from, with payrolls of 1.25 to 1.5, it's reduced to 0.11. That's 11 cents of every $100. For those with payrolls between 1.5 and 1.75, it's reduced to 0.23. Now for those self-employed individuals, that first number, that amount, that means 290,000 businesses that are currently paying it don't have to pay it anymore. There are a lot of self-employed taxpayers that are out there with business incomes that are under $50,000. By now exempting them from the MTA payroll tax, that means that 415,000 self-employed taxpayers that have been paying the MTA payroll tax no longer have to pay it. So over 700,000 taxpayers that were paying the MTA payroll tax, it's now repealed. What's next? Now, we could go back to the dilemma with that one supporter I told you earlier. It's damn the torpedoes or claim victory and move on. It's a dilemma, right? Not for me. Not for these guys. Because we made a pledge that every day that we were going to be on the job, we were going to do everything in our power to fight for repeal of the MTA payroll tax. We took care of it for 80% of those that are currently paying it, and it's our commitment that we will continue to do everything in our power to fight for the taxpayers of our districts on this issue and others. That's our commitment to you. So thank you everyone for coming out. Let's enjoy this victory and keep fighting. Real quickly, I'd like to introduce a very special partner in our fight, who brought the troops out, real strong, knocking on all those doors, those tens of thousands of doors. And I wanted him to come up and just say a few words because he was right here with us 2 years ago, nearly to the day, joining our fight. So Steve Flanagan from CSA.
I'll tell you, a couple of years ago we were taking stock of New York State. Think back to that. 2 years ago we were looking at the largest tax increase in New York State history. The implementation of the MTA tax. What was the increase? 9.7% in 1 year prior to you taking office? That's how high the budget went in 1 year. Well, there were a couple of issues that we thought were important. MTA taxes, small business. I'm a small business owner. Getting phone calls all over the place. You got your MTA tax bill? Retroactive? You got yours, I know, right? It was unbelievable. A corrupt institution that we're bailing out. It was one of the primary issues, one of the reasons we got involved and our organization got involved. And our organization is all about political action. And the fact that this man was elected, Dean was elected in a special election, meant everything. Because we were able to finally establish suburban representation back in Albany. That's why we have this, mostly a repeal of the MTA tax. It's also why we have a 2% tax cap, which is huge for property tax owners. None of that would have happened if this man wasn't elected. And I just want to thank all our followers. I just want to thank everybody who was involved with that. I see a lot of the faces, obviously. I know Lee knows them all. But it does prove that if we get politically active and we get involved and stay involved, that change can happen. And yes, I think Rookie of the Year is appropriate because just these two issues alone, the MTA tax, 2% tax cap, it's huge. It's huge for New York State. And it also sends a message to the rest of the state, business owners, maybe some property owners that might want to stay around for a change. Because there's a lot of people leaving this state right now. And I think what happened here in this last 11 months has been tremendous. And we should all be proud But don't kid yourself, this fight's not over. Because the other side saw what happened when they lose control. And they're going to do everything they can to get it back. And the power in the Senate is perilous right now. The change of one seat could change the balance of power in the entire state. So I'm going to be asking our followers and everybody else that we stay involved. New York State is important. The New York State Senate remains the top target, I know, for our membership and for our people, because if we don't maintain control of that, we can kiss our state goodbye. So again, I want to thank everybody. Thank Lee, thank Phil, and thank Dee for stepping up and making it happen.
So we close with 3 words. 3 words. Damn the torpedo.
Well,